Hello, it's lovely to see you again in this edition of Into Vietnam Weekend, which summarizes the most outstanding events during the past 7 days and present international experts' views on Vietnam's economy in today's headlines. Credit growth by 7.18% and total means payment increased by 11.6%. Russian President Vladimir Putin visits Vietnam. Despite its crucial role in the national economy, microfinance operations have not been well developed in Vietnam. Mr. Samuel Boyer, senior financial officer at the World Bank, shares valuable recommendations on developing microfinancial organizations in the country. Let's begin with this week's figures.
According to a report by the State Bank of Vietnam to the National Assembly, as of October 31, 2013, total means the payment increased by 11.6%, outstanding loans increased by 7.18% compared with the end of 2012. Vietnam Dong deposit rose 14.06%, even though Vietnam Dong deposit interest rate ceiling was revised down significantly, providing abundant capital for banks to cut lending interest rates and expanding credit. For the whole year 2013, total means the payment is estimated to increase by 16% compared to 2012, contributing to control inflation below 7% and ensuring liquidity. As of October 31, 2013, outstanding loans rose 7.18% compared to the end of 2012, far from the 12% growth target of 2013, but much higher than the same period in 2012, 3.54%. Credit structure continues to shift towards higher growth for priority areas. Regarding interest rates in the first 10 months of the year, deposit interest rates fell 2 to 3% per annum, lending rate fell 3 to 5% per annum, in which the interest rate for new loans fell sharply to the level of the period 2005-2006. The interest rates for old loans also fell sharply. Regarding the handling of non-performing loans, the growth rate of non-performing loans has declined steadily since the end of 2012. At the end of September 2013, the total system non-performing loans were 142.33 trillion dong, up 33.9 trillion dong, 20.2% compared to the end of 2012. The average growth rate was 2.2% per month. However, the non-performing loan ratios in total outstanding loans has continuously increased due to slow credit growth. The Ministry of Finance said Vietnam will sharply cut export duty for rubber to 1% from current 3 to 5% from December 26, 2013. Accordingly, natural rubber, latex, crepe rubber, compounded rubber in the primary forms or in place, sheets or strips will enjoy the export taxes of 1% from December 26, 2013, replacing the current rate of 3%. Of note, export duty of synthetic rubbers will be cut to 1%, replacing the current rate of 5% at the same date.
The Vietnam Association of Automobile Manufacturers or VAMA says in October 2013, its 19 members sold well more than 10,000 units, up 5% on month and 29% on year. Car sales in the country increased for the 7th month in a row. Toyota retained its top position in sales in October, a place it has held since September 2012. VAMA says sales between January and October rose 20% from a year earlier to more than 75,700 vehicles. Vietnam car sales this year are forecast at 109,000 vehicles. Car sales by VAMA members in 2012 fell 27% from a year earlier to nearly 80,500 vehicles. Meanwhile, annual sales by the country's entire car industry dropped 33% to 92,600 units. Coming up is some major macroeconomic and investment news. Russian President Vladimir Putin began a state-level visit to Vietnam on November the 12th at the invitation of State President Trương Tấn Sang. This is President Putin's third visit to Vietnam, and Vietnam is the second country in the Asia-Pacific region that he makes a visit to after China this year. A number of bilateral agreements are signed during the visit of President Putin to Vietnam this time. The priorities include speeding up of negotiations for an early signing of a free trade agreement between Vietnam and the custom unions of Russia, Belarus, and Kazakhstan. His visit also aims to further strengthen the comprehensive strategic partnership between Russia and Vietnam, promote mutual understanding and trust between the two countries' top leaders, and increase bilateral cooperation in all areas. Economic ties have flourished with two-way trade reaching $3.7 billion last year and $1.88 billion in the first 8 months of this year. Both countries have effectively maintained strategic dialogues on diplomacy, national defense, security annually, as well as periodical political consultations between the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Vietnam and Russia have cooperated closely and supported each other at regional and international forums. They have lifted their science, technology, and education training ties to a strategic level. Russia is one of Vietnam's top 10 tourism markets. Last year, Vietnam received 176,000 Russian arrivals, and the figure amounted to more than 200,000 in the first 9 months of 2013. The State Bank of Vietnam has announced the issuance of special bonds of Vietnam Asset Management Company for 3 banks, namely Techcombank, HSB, and VITV Bank, in which the VMC issued special bond worth more than 234.6 billion dong for Vietnam Technological and Commercial Joint Stock Bank, or Techcombank, more than 97.8 billion dong to Saigon Hanoi Commercial Joint Stock Bank, or HSB, and more than 87.6 billion dong to the Vietnam Asia Commercial Joint Stock Bank, or VITV Bank. The bonds have the term of 5 years and interest of 0%. The effective date of the bonds is November the 15th, 2013, and their maturity date is November the 13th, 2018. As part of the European Union efforts to deepen economic relations with countries in the dynamic of ASEAN region, Vice President Antonio Tajani, European Commissioner for Enterprise and Industry, led a mission for growth to Vietnam on November the 12th and the 13th. He was accompanied by 47 representatives from EU industry associations and companies, in particular those operating in key areas of EU-Vietnam business, like the tourism, agribusiness, and manufactured goods sectors. On November the 12th, the European delegation participated in a matchmaking event with local entrepreneurs in Ho Chi Minh City to generate business-to-business information sharing and potential business leads. To further help EU businesses operate in Vietnam, Vice President Tajani also witnessed the inauguration of the new EU-Vietnam Business Network. Agricultural products are a significant part of the EU exports to Vietnam, approximately 13% of the value of all exports to Vietnam in 2011, and also of Vietnam imports to the EU, approximately 20% in the year. For this reason, during the 2-day visit, participating companies active in the food supply chain, the processing, packaging, and retailing of food, also attended the 15th Forum on Eco-Innovation and UNEP Roundtable on Eco-Innovation, Cutting Waste, Resource Efficiency, and Eco-Innovation for Sustainable Food Chains. On November the 13th, Vice President Tajani met with the government officials in Hanoi, including Prime Minister Nguyễn Tấn Dũng, Minister of Industry and Trade Vũ Huy Hoàng, and the Minister of Planning and Investment Bùi Quang Vinh. To ensure a higher degree of cooperation between export-oriented small and medium-sized enterprises on both sides, a letter of intent to establish a dialogue on SME policy was signed. In related news, according to the State Bank of Vietnam, the number of bank cards in circulation nationwide reached nearly 63 million at the end of the third quarter, rising 4.62% from the previous period. Domestic cars reached 57.23 million, up 4.26%, and international cars hit 5.7 million, increasing 8.36%. With a country population of 90 million people, the growing use of bank cards to pay for goods and services indicates their convenience in being organized.
The domestic retail sector expects to increase its contribution to the gross domestic product or GDP from the current 14% to 23% in 2014. The Vietnam Retailers Association or VRA said the sector has several advantages that make the targets achievable. The association explains that the sector still has big room for both foreign and domestic investors to develop their business. The country's population has climbed up to 90 million, a majority of which was young people who use up to 70% of their income for shopping. Given this shopping tendency as well as the statistics that in every 100,000 people needed a big trade center, every 10,000 required a supermarket, and every 1,000 people one or two convenience stores. However, even big cities in Vietnam, including Ho Chi Minh City and Hanoi, do not have enough retail establishments to meet these standards. In rural areas, which are home to 70% of the country's population, retail distribution systems are not well developed and do not meet local demand. According to statistics compiled by VRA, the country now has 717 modern retail centers and 8,600 traditional markets.
According to Business Monitor International or BMI, Vietnam's agricultural sector has a bright future thanks to recent developments in its economic and business environment. BMI says there are major opportunities for its production, export business and retail sales of traditional products like rice, coffee, livestock and poultry. Over the past decade, Vietnam's economic growth has witnessed ups and downs due to high inflation and currency volatility that wedge on export competitiveness. However, 2013 looks set to be the major turning point in the economy, with the government pushing for the implementation of policies aimed at maintaining price stability and addressing macroeconomic imbalances. BMI says the government plans to improve agricultural production and business efficiency in the near future, and the sector will benefit from the expansion of production and improvement in the business environment. The results of public-private partnership or PPP programs in the cultivation, breeding and seafood sectors has reinforced BMI forecast for Vietnam agriculture sector in the coming years. The country's fertile soils and its increasing agricultural productivity will support robust growth in various sectors by more than 10% between 2012 and 2017. Prime Minister Nguyễn Tấn Dũng has approved a proposal to drive development of science and technology market by 2020 in an attempt to increase the competitiveness of technology-based products and services. The program aims to simplify regulations on the establishment, registration and operation of businesses in the tech sector and provide a boost to domestic science and technology-based firms currently lagging behind overseas competitors. The program will see the construction of national-scale trading floors in Hanoi, Ho Chi Minh City, and Da Nang City, while existing tech marts will be expanded. The program also aims to see the proportion of transactions resulting from domestic intellectual property increase to 10% of total technology-related sales by 2015 and 20% by 2020. The program is expected to meet the local market demand for technology in a range of sectors and enable a higher rate of technology use nationwide.
Foreign Trade News will continue the program.
With government-to-government deals, the major mode of rice export declining, Vietnam is likely to miss this year's target of shipping 7 to 7.2 million tons. Last year, the country surpassed Thailand to become the world's biggest rice exporter, shipping 7.72 million tons, and had hoped to increase the number to 8 million tons this year, but it has cut the target twice due to decreasing orders from traditional importers like the Philippines, Malaysia, and Indonesia. Exports under this mode made up only 13% of the rice exports by value in the first 9 months, down from 44% 2 years ago. As of October end, rice exports have been estimated as 5.73 million tons, value free on board at $2.47 billion. That represents a decline of 11.6% in volume and of 14% in value. According to the Vietnam Association of Seafood Exporters and Producers of VITV, the export of wild-leg shrimp has increased significantly this year and beaten shipments of the black tiger shrimp for the first time. The export value of $1.18 billion in January-October period marks a massive 95% year-on-year rise in shipment of the wild-leg shrimp. In October alone, the import revenues reached $199.3 million, up 168% against same period last year. In January, wild-leg shrimp accounted for 37.8% of the country's total shrimp export value, while the black tiger shrimp accounted for 51.3%. But by September, wild-leg shrimp accounted for 47.4% of the total shrimp export value, and that of the black tiger shrimp fell to 45.7%. All major markets, including Japan, the US, and EU, have imported significantly higher quantities of wild-leg shrimp this year, with the supply of shrimp from other major exporters like India and Thailand decreasing because of disease attacks. Demand for Vietnamese shrimp has surged, and since much large quantities of wild-leg shrimp are cultivated here, export of these have risen considerably as well.
Acquiring access to bank loans is of great concern among local businesses. Most of small and medium companies in Vietnam do not have their financial reports audited, which reduces their reliability. Hence, they often have difficulties in making bank loans. Regular auditing will not only help to increase the accessibility to bank loans, but also provides them with database to manage their business and manufacturing activities. More insights in the following report. Except for listed companies, most of the unlisted ones do not execute auditing the financial conditions. In fact, the auditing activities done by local firms are far from general standards, and this has delayed the lending process.
Hiện nay cái vướng mắc lớn nhất theo tôi là có nhiều doanh nghiệp trong thực tế là cái hoạt động, cái báo cáo cũng chưa được rõ ràng, nên là chưa đủ tạo ra đủ cái độ tin cậy cho phía ngân hàng.
Hay các cái tiêu chí mà ngân hàng đặt ra cho một đơn vị về các phương án kinh doanh của mình hay là báo cáo tài chính thì là nó khắt khe, nó hơi quá sức với rất nhiều doanh nghiệp. Nên chính vì vậy mà các doanh nghiệp phải tự chế, tự sửa các báo cáo của mình để cho nó hợp lý với ngân hàng.
For bank side, they are now more careful and prudent in lending process after a period of poor growth and rising bad debt levels. A number of banks have cited financial auditing as the must in lending terms. Therefore, if businesses do not have their financial reports audited, banks will not have the basis to believe that they are in good conditions, and so firms are blocking their own access to bank loans.
Thì nếu mà doanh nghiệp không thực hiện kiểm toán, nghĩa là các cái doanh nghiệp nhỏ và vừa mà không có vốn nhà nước, hiện bây giờ là chưa theo luật kiểm toán độc lập chưa bắt buộc phải kiểm toán ấy, thì khi vay vốn ở các hệ thống ngân hàng này thì tất nhiên là họ sẽ gặp khó khăn bởi vì nếu như ngân hàng người ta đã đưa vào trong quy chế là muốn vay vốn phải có báo cáo kiểm toán, thì anh không có báo cáo kiểm toán thì không thể nào mà vay vốn được. hoặc là đến lúc đấy mới đi kiểm toán chẳng hạn, thì có những cái khoản mục mà hoặc là có những cái thủ tục bên kiểm toán lúc bây giờ không thể làm lại được nữa, thì nó sẽ có các cái ý kiến ngoại trừ ở trên báo cáo kiểm toán. Do đó là cũng sẽ có những cái khó khăn doanh nghiệp sẽ gặp phải với lại cán bộ tín dụng của ngân hàng.
Apart from helping businesses to have more access to bank loans, independent auditing operations also help them to have general view on the financial conditions, detecting any weaknesses in the business and develop appropriate solutions to deal with them.
Khi không kiểm toán thì người ta doanh nghiệp không tự mình nhìn thấy được các cái lỗi hoặc các cái lỗ hổng có thể có trong hệ thống kiểm soát nội bộ. Đấy. Vì vậy là mặc dù không vay vốn ngân hàng, nhưng mà nhiều doanh nghiệp nhỏ và vừa họ vẫn đi thi kiểm toán để về chỉ là làm gì để làm sạch cái hệ thống kiểm soát nội bộ của họ và để chấn chỉnh lại cái công tác quản lý.
Đối với doanh nghiệp, nếu thực hiện kiểm toán thường xuyên thì chính tự doanh nghiệp là có thể xem xét được lại các hoạt động của mình một cách là chính xác nhất, bởi vì đó là một cái bên độc lập, họ xem xét toàn bộ các hoạt động của mình, họ đánh giá theo các cái tiêu chuẩn, các cái quy chuẩn. Thế thì cái việc mà có một công ty kiểm toán để họ nhìn lại các cái hoạt động của doanh nghiệp ấy, thì tôi cho đấy là một cái cơ sở tin cậy để cho ban lãnh đạo doanh nghiệp có thể có những cái quyết định đúng đắn hơn trong cái công tác điều hành.
The fact is that auditing expenses are quite high for new established companies, especially small and medium ones. However, in the long run prospects, auditing operations will help them to make right moves in the future. Microfinance institutes have developed strongly all over the world in the past few years and play increasingly important role in domestic and regional economies. The financial service, however, is not well developed in Vietnam. The VITV reporter had a talk with Mr. Sammy Goyer, Senior Financial Officer of the World Bank in Vietnam. He shares valuable recommendations on developing microfinancial organizations in the country.
Hello, thank you very much for being with us today. As you know, microfinancial activity have played an important role in poverty reduction of developing countries like Vietnam. So what do you think about these activities in Vietnam in the past few years?
Vietnam has been concentrating and growing very fast over the past few years, and its banking system is quite large now. Unfortunately, the microfinance activities have not developed as much as they could have. But if you look at it another way, you have certain institutions which have been quite dominant in lending to the poor and also providing support for different programs for the masses. VBSP, Vietnam Bank for Social Policy, has several customers, more than 7 million, if I'm not mistaken, households as customers. And they have 17 or 18 different programs to support different things. 1/3 of their programs, I believe, support education for the poor. 1/3 of the programs support really poor, whether it's with agriculture, with household related issues, etc. Where we need to make a distinction is that the typical microfinance, which is observed across the world, has developed into an activity where you have to have sustainability. That aspect in Vietnam, for example, the institution like VBSP, is not that yet developed.
Could you give comments on the differences between Vietnam and other countries in performing microfinancial activities?
Where the way Vietnam has developed, they have still a very concentrated focus through the Vietnam Bank for Social Policy in addressing many households. Now, the access to this institution is quite large, but at the same time, the access can also become a hurdle for the growth of other institutions. Right now, you have license for 2 or 3 microfinance institutions. They are concentrated in particular areas, and they have still limited scope of work. VBSP operates and supports a lot of the poor and microfinance borrowers, but its activities are not market oriented, which means that it has significant costs for the government, and at the same time it basically offers a cheap alternative to a consumer, making it difficult for any other entrant to get into the market.
What are the challenges faced by international organizations in doing microfinancial activities in Vietnam?
In fact, in the rural areas, there are only a few banks. Most of the banks concentrate in urban areas. Secondly, as I mentioned earlier, if I want to come in, I want to have good knowledge of the industry and the sector. Do I have that? I would argue that there is some information but not enough. And that's where the government can probably play a very strong role in trying to give more information about the borrowers and about the industry, which can then stimulate activity and raise the interest of the foreign investor, right, or somebody who wants to participate. But right now in Vietnam, that has not advanced to that degree. I do understand there is work going on, but I think at this time, if a foreign investor comes, he cannot get good information from that source as well, and that limits.
So what should we do to improve the effectiveness of these activities in the country?
In Vietnam, I think despite a fast growth of the banking sector, there are still a lot of people who do not have good financial services. And I think it's important that when you look at microfinance in Vietnam, you look at beyond just loans. You can look at other areas like microinsurance has grown quite a bit and is doing very well across the world. You have to look at micro housing loans. You have to look at ways in which you can have small payment systems. Like in Philippines, now you can transfer funds from a cell phone to a cell phone. In other countries also, they're moving towards good transfer of funds through small systems which are less costly.
Once again, thanks for joining our talk today.
As usual, the final part is a summary of the local securities market during the week. And that's all for this edition of Into Vietnam. Thank you so much for your time with us, and see you later.